Now, I don't know about you friends, but I happen to love making spring DIY crafts, especially with the supplies that come from the Dollar Tree. Now today in this episode, we're going to be making 5 beautiful on-budget projects that look so high-end and are so much fun to make. All right, now let's get crafting. Now over at my Dollar Tree, I saw that they had these wooden eggs. They've actually bumped up the amount of them in the pack. There were 10 this year, and then they have a whole bunch of these pots. So I picked up 6 of these pots as well as the Easter pack. And for our project today, our supplies are going to be these 6 terracotta pots, the word Easter from their wooden letters at the Dollar Tree craft section, 6 popsicle sticks, as well as some foam, and then 6 of these eggs that we're going to be using, and we'll be having some pattern paper on top of them, but you're going to keep a 7th one so that you can use it to trace onto that pattern paper and get the exact size we need. Once you have all your supplies collected, go ahead and take those popsicle sticks and the 6 eggs and glue the stick onto the bottom center of the egg. Once those are glued all together, get your foam squares and you're going to cut them down so that they fit nice and snug inside of those terracotta pots. I like to add a little bit of glue on the side so it sticks to the pot, and then a little bit on the top so we can stick those eggs down inside that foam. Make sure your eggs are all at the same height, so play around with them before the glue dries. And then once it is dry, take some white paint and go ahead and paint the egg, the stick of the popsicle stick, the inside of the pot rim, and the outside of the pot rim. I just use a smaller brush on that rim, and I just take my time going around making sure I have a nice clean line. Then you're also going to paint your letters Easter the color white. Once everything has been painted, we now can move on to our pattern paper. So we're going to need 6 different pattern papers. And my tip that I like to do with my pattern paper whenever I'm working with smaller things I'm tracing, I always like to trace the shape first. I like to stick in a corner, and then I try to cut a nice clean straight line so that it's easy to store this extra piece that I'm not going to be using and it doesn't get all crazy in your paper bins. Once you've got that egg cut out with you tracing it around with the wooden egg, go ahead and continue to move on to all the other colors until you have everything cut out. Now we're going to take our hot glue, and you could use adhesive on this, but I just feel like the hot glue is much more cost efficient with this one. And we're going to go ahead and just put that on and use a popsicle stick before it starts to dry and just smooth it out underneath that pattern paper. Now we're going to take some scissors and we are just going to rough up that edge. The size of the paper already fits on the egg, but I love how it brings out that white undertone on the paper and makes it look more farmhouse. Then go ahead and take your letters and glue them on, and make sure you get your pattern paper in the colors that you want in the order you want so that you don't later on accidentally glue the wrong letter to the wrong egg pattern paper. So I like to figure out which pattern in order I want them to be for my sign. Now go ahead and take some more hot glue and put that all over the inside of your pot and add on some of your Spanish moss. And then I took some of this really cute white ribbon in the ribbon section at the Dollar Tree, and I just tied a simple little bow, putting that at the bottom of the egg. And then again, I say it on here a lot on my channel, I love buttons, especially at springtime. I don't know why I love buttons so much, but I think it reminds me of my grandma. My grandma had a big tin of all these buttons, and so did my mom. My mom had a big mason jar. So I'm going to use these teeny tiny buttons. You can get these at Joann's craft store. I went ahead and just put that right in the center of the bow. And now I'm going to get a very dry brush of brown, and I'm just going to help enhance those letters a little bit more so that they really stand out. And this is our finished look of the project. Head to your local Dollar Tree and pick up some foil, or if you have it in your kitchen, that works too. Grab some ribbon that are orange colored for carrots, some greenery, some painter's tape, and then some ribbon that you're going to use to tie for bows at the end. I took my foil out and I pulled about 4 or 5 times so I can get a nice loose ball of foil. This part does not have to be perfect. You can see how rough I'm being with it. And once you've got enough, go ahead and rip the foil, and we're going to start to smash that down into the shape of a carrot. Now, I heard you all loud and clear, and this is the reason why I came up with this idea. Some of you were telling me that you can't find carrots at the Dollar Tree, and this you can find. Everyone has foil at their Dollar Trees because this is something that is carried all the time. You probably even have it in your own kitchen right now. So go ahead and smash that foil down into the shape of a carrot, and you can make these however big or small you want to make them depending on how much foil you're using. You can see here at the end, I'm going to just go ahead and use the table to smush it around, to smooth it all out. And once you've got everything nice and compacted, you're going to go ahead and take some painter's tape, and we're going to just go over that whole thing. This is going to lock everything in, and it's going to allow you to be able to work with the ribbon even easier so it can glue to the painter's tape and not have any issues with it not sticking. So once you've got everything all smushed down, you're going to have, if you're using the box from the Dollar Tree, 4 large carrots and 1 smaller carrot. So it just, again, depends on what size carrots you want to make. You can make a whole bunch of little carrots. It's all up to you and what you want. So now we're going to take our ribbon and we're going to start coiling it on, starting at the end of the carrot, the pointy part. And you can see right here, I'm doing a fold back, because what happens with ribbon when you're going up something that's thinner versus thicker at the end, the ribbon is not going to want to keep laying flat like you want it to. So I've learned this trick over the years of crafting with ribbon, that when you're coiling something up that gets thicker towards the end, you're going to want to put little dots of glue as you're going along, and then when you get to a point where you see that the ribbon is not aligning the way you want it to, you're going to take that ribbon and you're just going to fold it over, and that's going to allow you to be able to continue rolling all the way up that object you're trying to get your ribbon on without there being any weird gaps and the ribbon's looking really messy. And I just keep doing this. I'll fold forward or I'll fold backwards as I'm going up the carrot with the ribbon. So once you get all the way up to the top and you've made it nice and tight on your carrot, you're going to go ahead and take your scissors, cut off where you want it to be, and then at the very end, we're going to just put a little bit more glue and we're going to wrap it around about 2 or 3 times up at the top and then glue that in place. Now the reason why we're going to have this extra part up here at the top, because now we're going to put some glue down in there and sneak in some of that greenery that I cut up from a pick from the Dollar Tree, and then we're just going to smash it all down. And at this point we're going to take some yarn that's orange, and we're going to just wrap around and around and around until we get it nice and tight and you get it to the look that you want. You could use twine for this too. That could be really cute too. And then we're going to just tie a double knot and cut off that yarn that is too long. And then just add some bows and you've got yourself the cutest decor piece. And even cuter is if you put it on a tray with a wreath and a bunny inside the wreath, and then the carrots spread all over that tray. What a cute spring decor piece. Our supplies to make the carrot cake are 2 different size containers from the Dollar Tree, some carrots, some caulk, and some spackle. You're going to need to take your smaller container and you're going to put some hot glue all the way around that rim and then glue it to the bottom of your larger container. Make sure that they're centered before the hot glue dries and it locks into place, because I almost had it happen to me. So make sure you shift it around and get it into place. And then we're going to remove the lid off of our spackle and use a silicone spatula to apply it to the container. Now, funny enough, this just worked out really great that the glitter on this container actually allowed the spackle to stick on there even better. It had something to hold on to. So it wasn't such a terrible thing that that was on there. But we're going to go ahead and just continue to smooth it out all over it and just keep playing with it until you get the texture that you would like it to look like, so it represents and resembles frosting. Once you've gone all the way around the bottom one, come up to the top and continue to just work around that smaller upper layer of your cake. Now we're going to take some water and smooth out any spaces that might need some smoothing where it looks a little too rough. I just like to just dip my finger into a cup of water next to me, and I just keep playing with it until I get that consistency of frosting. Now at the very top, I decided to shift some of the spackle so that I can make sure that the carrot bonds well to the container, and that way it really locks in there and stays on without falling off. At this point, you can see the rims of our little cake we're making. They look a little raw, they look a little rough. So we are going to now take the caulk, and I'm just going in a swirling, simple motion to create this frosted edge. Now, a fun fact about me and my family, my mom, being as crafty as she is, when she was younger, before she had kids, she decided to take a cake decorating class, and then it became one of her side businesses that she would do growing up. So my mom actually made wedding cakes, I mean, whatever you can think of, and we always had the coolest birthday cakes because my mom had this skill. So we're now going to do a really simple stroke with our caulk to create more frosting. You're going to push it out so it balls up into a clump and then drag before you release the pressure. That is going to create a really beautiful motion in the frosting and make it look like a real cake. So I'm just building up all the frosting around those two top layers and then around the base. You can see that I pulled out parchment paper because we want to make sure that that caulk is going to dry without getting stuck to something. So once you've gone all the way around, everything is dry. I honestly just let it dry overnight, so I didn't have any issues with it. You then can come in with some white paint and just simply paint the entire thing white. This is going to make sure that you're locking everything in. It looks really good, and at this point, it really does look like frosting. Now we're going to pull out some flax seeds and some Mod Podge, and we are going to create that nutty look on the side of a carrot cake. I like to just pour my Mod Podge into my lid cap, and then I'm going to only focus on the sides of the cake, not where we put the caulk. Okay, here's a fun fact, friends. I know that eggs are super expensive right now. Did you know that flax seeds are a substitute for eggs? You add some water to it, and it gets the same consistency as an egg. So look it up online. I'm actually borderline vegan. I'm 100% vegetarian, but borderline vegan. And so flax seeds is a substitute that I use when I bake. So you can see that I went all the way around the cake on the top layer and the bottom layer. And now I'm putting in that hot glue, and I'm just nestling that carrot down in there. And now, at this point, I've decided to make sure that flaxseed's really bonded on there well and it doesn't rub off over time. I'm going to come in with one more layer of Mod Podge, and I'm going to put one more layer of that flaxseed on there. This is going to create a double layer, really locking it in and making it look high quality, and it's going to trick a lot of people when they first see it, thinking that this is a real mini cake. Now at this point, once I've gone all the way around, doubled up that flaxseed on there, you're going to want to just let it dry, let it do its thing, and set it to the side. But before I walk away from the project, you want to make sure that the caulk that you did around it to make it look like that frosting detail, you want to make sure you just clean it up some. So we're going to just take a wipey, wipe off anywhere where the flaxseed or the Mod Podge might have accidentally gotten on it, and then come back in with the white paintbrush and just clean it up a little bit. This is going to make it look really finished and polished. I love a good finished project because this is when it really starts to come to life. Also, I wanted to share that when I'm done, I always like to wipe out the lid, making sure that there's nothing in there. And it also keeps your Mod Podge from getting too goopy where you can't close it and open it very easily. And then just screw that on. And here is the finished look of our carrot cake. Now I'm calling this project a bird condo because it looks like a little bird neighborhood. These are the supplies we're going to be using, which are 3 houses, 1 wood round, some wooden squares, some Spanish moss, some wooden stakes, craft stakes, and then some scrapbook paper. Now this scrapbook paper is an older collection. It's from My Mind's Eye, but there are so many beautiful options out there for scrapbook paper. So just pick what you have on hand or in your craft room. Now, if you already know how to cut paper down to size, go ahead and fast forward to 4 minutes and 40 seconds where I start to build my bird condo. Start by taking off those bottom stickers and pick out 3 different pattern papers that you would like to work with. Then we're going to take a piece of paper and we are going to put it at the edge of the house, down where the floor of the little birdhouse is, and we're going to crease the line and cut it right there. This is going to allow you to be able to know the width of that house on the back of the house. And then you're going to see here that I'm going to use my finger and I'm going to press up in there to get the dimension of the top of that roof line, but on the inside, not the outside of the roof line. Go ahead and make your cut. And then I always like to check it again to make sure that's the right size. And then using my finger, I'm going to push up into that other corner to get the right size. There will always be a little bit of hangover. So what you're going to do, if that is the case, you're going to go ahead and use your scissors and trim it up if you need just a little bit of some trimming in there to make it fit perfectly. At this point, you're going to already have the back side of your house piece cut out without having to do all kinds of crazy tracing and struggling and crinkling the paper. Now the back side and the front side of the house dimensionally is going to be the same size. So you can go ahead and just take that piece we just made and we're going to cut that out on another piece of the paper. And now what we're going to do is we need to get that hole for where the little bird is going to sit on its ledge. I went ahead and creased down onto that little circle. I'm going to use my A Dile. And now you're thinking, okay, how do I get the hole for the birdhouse door to get in? Go ahead and poke a hole. And then with your finger, start to press around to the rim of that hole. This is going to allow you to be able to come in with some small scissors. In the scrapbook world, we call these fussy cutting scissors. I always thought that was the funniest name. So then you've got your hole cut out and now you can go on to the sides. Now we're going to take the paper. We're going to do that same trick where we figure out how wide it is. We're going to come in up underneath the roof line and crease down at the floor. And that's going to let you be able to get the size inside there perfectly. And again, if you have any hangover and it's not fitting quite right, you can just keep trimming it down with your scissors until you get the right size. Now I'm going to show you how to do this roof line where it's a little more complicated. But again, it's just kind of following the same steps. Start at the footing of the house where the floor is. Get that first peak line, even though it's got that ridge going, bumping down with the roof line changing, not just being a straight across roof line. And now, once I've got that top peak figured out, I'm going to come in with an X-Acto knife and I'm going to press really hard into those corners. And I'm going to make sure then, after they've been pushed down, I can take my craft knife and follow along the edge for those more trickier spaces. This is when I like bringing in the craft knife because it really does help you get into those corners. But craft knives are always a little tricky with wood projects. Sometimes they don't let you get the perfect cut. It really needs to be a sharp blade. So if your blade is giving you trouble, it could be that you need a new blade. But just keep taking your time and cutting down those pieces and testing it out. And then before you know it, you've got yourself the perfect piece that will fit along that roof line. Now, I know a lot of people love to use scrapbook adhesive, but I do not like doing that with wood projects. The adhesive over time will dry out on the wood pieces. So I actually like using hot glue gun, but my trick so it doesn't get bumpy, you need to work quickly, put your glue down, and then you're going to take a popsicle stick and manipulate the glue underneath it, pushing it out. Here are our 3 bird houses, and now we're going to work on jointing them together. This part is so fun and it's really enjoyable. I had a really good time making this little bird condo. I'm going to take 4 of these little wooden squares because we need to create a ledge for the birdhouse on top to be able to nestle into the birdhouse on the bottom. So I just marked where I needed them to be so that the birdhouse would be straight on top. I'm going to put 2 of these squares And then I'm going to come over on the other side and put 2 more squares. Now at this point, I decided to go ahead and use a watered down paint stain. It's just some paint with some water. And I'm going to just go over, making sure I don't get any of that water on my scrapbook paper. And then I'm going to, once it's dry, I'm going to go ahead and bring in my glue because we want to conceal those wooden squares. This is perfect to bring in the Spanish moss at this point. So I'm going to cover around the sides on the rooftop, and I'm also going to put them on the outer side of the square. Now at this point, you're going to put a whole bunch of this hot glue and you're going to put your top birdhouse on. This is where it becomes a little condo for the birds. And we're going to make sure the bottom roof of the house and the flooring roof of the top house are aligned in the front. Go ahead and grab your wood round once that's sitting and drying and cut off the twine and patch that hole. Now we are going to take some of these craft stake sticks that you can get from the Dollar Tree. Everything's from the Dollar Tree, by the way, except for obviously the scrapbook paper. But I know that sometimes they do have that there in their craft section. I just don't like the patterns as much, honestly. I know that if you're a crafter, you probably have lots of really cute papers that you could be using for this birdhouse. All right, now we cut those down to size. You're going to see that I had some a little bit longer, some a little bit shorter. I'll put the measurements down in the description box, but I'm going to glue 3 of them together. Now this is probably the trickiest part where it's a little more advanced, but again, you could always just glue it onto the birdhouse, but I always like to make sure things are cut and placed inside with wood. But again, if you really want to, you can always just put a nice big glob of glue and glue them on without drilling any holes. But if you have a drill and you feel comfortable, I would definitely say drill the holes. Now you can even see here that I don't even have the right size drill bit. So I just make a few different holes. And I also, again, I'm sure if there's a guy watching this, he's going to be like, oh my word, what is that lady doing going around in a circle? I'm making sure that there's a free movement as I'm swirling around to make the hole a little bit bigger. I was just honestly being a little lazy because I didn't want to go out to the garage to get my other drill that has a bigger drill head on it. So if you have a bigger drill bit and a bigger drill head, totally do that. Otherwise, you can just glue these down and that will work too. So at this point you can see that I'm gluing my birdhouses to the 2 different size staked legs, and then I'm also gluing them into my wood round mount. Now at this point this is just becoming so adorable, and I decided to go onto my printer real quick. You can use a program called paint.net. It's a free editing digital design program that Google puts out. Again, it's called paint.net, and you can just print out a little square, and then I put some text on top of it that says home tweet home. Put it on one of these garden tags, and I'm staking that into my wood round as well because they need a little sign too for their little bird condo. Why not? I feel like this is such a whimsical, magical spring project. Now I'm sharing how I get that farmhouse look. You are not going to heavily saturate your paintbrush. You're going to rub it across the paint where you have the paint only on one side, and we're going to just simply drag our paintbrush across. That's how you get that wood to come through. I just lightly drag it across, and I'm going all over the rooftops and all over the flooring of the bird houses. And then down at the base, we're going to have a nice finished look down there. I went ahead and painted that with about 3 coats of white paint on the base and the legs of the treehouse, so it looks really polished and clean. Now we're going to come in with some moss to conceal all that hot glue down there, plus it goes along with that birdhouse theme, and I'm just cleaning it up. And I don't want to cover the whole thing because you still want to see that wood base. Now at this point, I've decided to add a little bit of moss inside the bird holes and a couple of bows because I love a good bow. And I'm going to put a couple of buttons right on the front. Friends, this project was so fun to make. And the last thing that I did was take some of the Dollar Tree lace ribbon, wrapped it around the base of the wood round, and glued it into place. I love finding huge signs like this that once upon a time were super trendy with these crowns on it, and then turning it into something new and updated. This sign is a great quality, and I'm going to pair it with this printable that you can find over on my website. I've got lots of free printables over there. I'm going to link my website down below if you want to check it out and get that printable. But what we're going to do is we're going to start by painting the sign with 1 coat of white paint, and then we're going to use this Crackle medium paint. We're going to pour that on, a nice thick coat of it, and it's going to look really glossy once it dries. That's good because that means that you have a nice coat on it. And now I'm going to come in with a kind of a medium gray, and I'm going to just add a nice, you can see how thick it is that I'm putting this on. I'm going to add a nice thick coat of it, make sure it's really dried, and you can already see the effect starting to happen. Because what happens is the paint dries, it starts to crack and separate from that Crackle medium that we put on first. Now we're going to repeat it again because I want to have a very rustic looking board by the time I'm done. So now I'm going to come back in after putting on a second coat of that medium, and now I'm going to add on blue, and you can see, look at the texture on that. It is so beautiful. We basically sped up the process of that crackled paint over years and years and years. So what we're going to do now is we are going to cut out our stencil, trace it on, and we are going to fill it in. This is the quickest way. I feel like using these stencils. You could go and purchase a Cricut, and I'm not telling you not to. If you have one, that's awesome. I have a Cricut too, but a lot of the times you have to pay for the vinyl and it takes time to download those things. I'm giving you this printable for free, so it's really easy to just cut it out, trace it on, and then paint and fill it in. So now at this point you can see that my first branches, I did staple those to the board. I want them to stay on there nice and strong. I added in some more greenery, some more of the florals. These are poppy florals from the Dollar Tree. And then I found these really beautiful stickers that were in the home section at the Dollar Tree. I'm going to use the one that says grateful. And I'm going to just center that right in the middle since we are grateful for the Savior and what He's done. And then at the end, I'm going to just add on a bow at the top, and it has come together so beautifully. As just one more reminder, don't forget to grab the printable. It's linked at the top of the comments and down below in my description box for this project. Now friends, I want to thank you all for being here today. Every time you click on a video, it helps out my channel and it means so much to me and my family. So thank you for stopping by and visiting. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And don't forget, I'm also over on Instagram. Come on by, say hi. I show a lot of behind the scenes action, what goes on in my craft room. I'm going to recommend this video. If you enjoyed this one today, you might enjoy this one as well. It's along the same themes and topics. Thanks so much for stopping by again. And until the next episode, bye friends.